Have you ever driven all the way home after a brutal day at the office, pulled in your driveway, and suddenly realized you literally have zero memory of the drive? Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Welcome to our deep dive into the neuroscience of habit reconstruction. As someone who spends their life studying behavioral habit loops, I can tell you right now, understanding the biological encoding that drives your daily performance, that's the ultimate competitive advantage. In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how your brain automates your life, and more importantly, how you can hack that system to take back control. Let's get started.
Let's kick things off with a staggering reality check, especially if you're a high-stress professional. Studies show that 40% of the actions you perform every single day, they aren't conscious choices at all. They're automatic habits. Think about that for a second. From the very moment you wake up and check your phone to exactly how you react to a sudden crisis in the boardroom, nearly half of your personal and professional life is running on pure, unthinking autopilot. Crazy, right?
Which brings us to a dramatic inflection point, and honestly, a terrifying question for busy executives. Who is really making your decisions when burnout and decision fatigue inevitably set in? Look, when your schedule is total chaos and the pressure is at its absolute peak, you're not making choices based on your values or your long-term goals. You're just defaulting to your deepest neurological wiring. And if those underlying habits happen to be toxic or inefficient, well, you're completely at their mercy.
So let's meet the hidden engine behind all of this, the basal ganglia. It's this tiny, ancient structure sitting right near the center of your brain. To save mental effort, your basal ganglia takes complex sequences of behavior, like backing your car out of a tricky driveway or navigating a super tense negotiation, and it converts them into automatic routines. In neuroscience, we call this process chunking, and it's literally designed to conserve your vital mental energy. But here's the catch. Once the basal ganglia permanently carves these routines into your brain, they never truly disappear. And the wildest part? Your brain honestly cannot tell the difference between a highly productive habit and a completely destructive one.
This trap is governed by what we call the habit loop. Researchers map this out through some fascinating, high-stakes neurobehavioral experiments. They tracked the brain activity of a monkey named Julio as he learned to press a lever for blackberry juice, which, if we're being honest, isn't all that different from an executive hunting down their 3 p.m. espresso. Basically, every habit has 3 parts. First, there's a cue, which triggers your brain into automatic mode. Then comes the routine, the actual physical or emotional behavior. And finally, the reward. That's the payoff that tells your brain, hey, this specific loop is definitely worth remembering for next time.
To really wrap your head around this, try thinking of your neural encoding like water channels carved into a dirt hill. Once a groove is carved by a habit loop, the water, which represents your automatic behavior, will always want to flow down that exact path of least resistance. You can't simply hit a delete button on an old, toxic habit path because your basal ganglia has already hardwired it. Instead, you have to consciously pick up a shovel, dig an entirely new channel, and physically redirect the flow.
Now, the crucial thing here is understanding the force that's actually pushing that water down the channel. And that force is neurological craving. In our lab studies, we see this massive anticipatory spike in brain activity. The brain literally starts expecting the reward the moment it spots the cue, way before the routine even happens. It's like if you see a donut box on the conference table, your brain is already anticipating the sugar high. Craving isn't a moral failing. It's not a weakness. It is this invisible cinematic engine powering the loop. And the best news? We can actually hijack it.
That brings us to the absolute core strategy of habit reconstruction. We call it the golden rule of habit change. Since we know we can't just delete habits, we have to hijack them. You can reconstruct basically any behavior by keeping the old cue, delivering the old reward, but aggressively rewiring the routine in the middle. So let's say you habitually stress-eat a cookie at 3 p.m. Your cue is the time of day, and your actual reward might just be a brief escape from your desk. Keep the 3 p.m. cue, keep the break as your reward, but swap the routine to a brisk 5-minute walk. It's a total game changer.
And when we scale this up to the executive level, we see something truly incredible, known as the keystone habit effect. Take former CEO Paul O'Neill. When he took over the struggling aluminum giant Alcoa, he completely shocked everyone because he didn't focus on profits. Instead, he targeted one single keystone habit: worker safety. By demanding a zero-injury culture, he sparked this chain reaction of small wins that created massive structural spillover across the entire company. Focusing on this one habit broke up toxic organizational truces, built a highly empowered culture where anyone felt safe speaking up, and ultimately, it drove exponential, record-breaking organizational results.
But let's be real. How do you actually maintain these new habits when a crisis hits? Well, willpower isn't just some personality trait you're born with. It's a finite muscle, and it gets exhausted over a chaotic work week. To protect your new habits when you hit high-stress inflection points, you know those exact moments you're most likely to just give up? You have to pre-program your response using the implementation intention formula. You literally write it down. When I see this specific cue, I will do this new routine because it provides this reward. You are making the decision in advance. That way, your basal ganglia knows exactly what to do when your willpower inevitably fails.
To figure out what to plug into that formula, you kind of have to play detective in your own life. I'd highly invite you to just pause this explainer right here and use this diagnostic table. Science shows us that almost all habitual cues fall into just 5 categories: your location, the time of day, your emotional state, the other people around you, or the immediately preceding action. So, the next time you feel that urge to engage in a toxic habit, grab a pen and write down the answers to these 5 categories to isolate your exact trigger.
Once you've got your cues mapped out, here is your practical week-by-week masterclass blueprint. During week 1, just play around with substitute rewards. Immediately after trying one, do the 3-word awareness test. All you do is jot down 3 emotions you're feeling, wait exactly 15 minutes, and then see if the urge is gone. By week 2, you'll be ready to lock in those new routines with your implementation intentions. And hey, if you stumble around month 3, no problem at all. Just perform a rigorous 5 whys audit. Literally ask yourself why 5 times in a row to dig right down to the root cause of the relapse.
As you start mapping your loops, experimenting with rewards, and really building up that willpower muscle through those small wins, something profound starts to happen. This entire habit reconstruction journey is ultimately about building lasting personal resilience. It becomes a permanent shift in your self-identity. You are literally recasting yourself from someone who just blindly follows automated routines into a leader who claims total, unapologetic personal ownership over their mind and their actions. Which brings us to our final immediate step for achieving peak performance. You now know the secret, that 40% of your life is run by the basal ganglia. But more importantly, you now have the blueprint to dig new water channels and rewrite your own code. So I want you to look at your chaotic week ahead. Identify those high-stress inflection points and ask yourself this one vital question. What single routine will you reclaim today?